The courtroom was a frozen monument, its wooden walls smoothed by decades of rulings and silent misery. From the bench, I, Judge Eleanor Harper, gazed silently, my robes rigid, the state seal shining above me like a watchful eye. In the defendant's chair, Diane Voss sat rigidly, polished hair perfect, demeanor too stiff, armor creaking from the inside. She did not know that the judge facing her was the same woman she had ridiculed all those years before, when my nephew was dying in an ambulance parked outside her gated community's locked entrance. That recollection had never faded, still cutting through me on nights that never ended and hearings that dragged on forever. Now Diane wriggled, ignorant. She still thought that she was queen bee in her little fiefdom, but surrounding her were the smoldering ashes of her alleged empire. I did not have to shout. I could let my signature speak louder than a bellow. The air in the room wasn't tense just from the cold AC. It was from me. From the anger I kept locked away deep inside, wound tight. Her attorney, young and stretched thin, appeared to have aged a decade defending her. Diane sat like a queen, however, jaw locked, as if the entire ordeal was some mere annoyance. But the case file spoke differently. Embezzlement, harassment of a superior, illegal monitoring, falsified fines, and bylaws sharpened into knives. Her appeal alleged minor procedural irregularities. But her crime was pride. She'd thought herself beyond the law. She was mistaken. When the clerk called the motion, her attorney bumbled through flimsy denials, tripping over Diane's smart mutters. I remained impassive. Then with a curt nod, motion denied. Verdict stands. 3 gavel strikes. Each of them boomed through the hall like an accounting. Diane's gaze furrowed, attempting to decipher my look, seeking something known, but I provided nothing. I rose and exited through the side door, back erect. Holding her in judgment, I was the specter of her retribution. By mid-afternoon, I was in jeans and sneakers, driving my old sedan by the HOA gates. They didn't know me. I was a nobody to them, a mere visitor to my sister Sarah's small home. Yet I visited frequently, repainting her ramp, running groceries up, placing flowers on my nephew Ethan's tomb. He'd have been 14 now. The security guard didn't even glance up as I drove by. Sarah met me outside, her face worn but warm. The ramp was peeling again. I told her I'd fix it by the weekend. She smiled, invited me in for coffee. We didn't require many words. Grief served as our interpreter. While she sat inside, I knelt beside Ethan's rosebush, his favorite. Its thorns were ahead of the blooms this year. That's when I heard the footsteps, sharp, rhythmic. "Excuse me," Diane's voice cut through the air, as shrill and entitled as always. "This is HOA property. Identification, please." I stood, wiping dirt from my gloves. She was attired as always. Cream blazer, sunglasses sitting atop her head like a tiara. Clipboard held at the ready like a royal proclamation. She didn't know who I was. "I live here," I said calmly. Her eyes narrowed. "You're not on record. This is restricted access. ID or you'll have to leave." I looked in the direction of Sarah's front door. "I'm going to my sister's, assisting in the garden. That a problem?" Her chin thrust upward. "Policy 6A, no unauthorized work on private property." I swallowed laughter. Let silence hang just long enough to unnerve her. "I'll be sure to study that one," I said. "You're certainly well-versed in the rules." She smiled, taking sarcasm for praise. I strode away, leaving her befuddlement to germinate behind me. She had no notion that I was the one who had destroyed her authority with a flick of a pen. At home, Sarah gave me coffee and looked out the window. "Did she bother you?" "A little," I replied. "I've handled worse." We drank in silence. She didn't know that I was the judge who had decimated Diane's final appeal. I hadn't said anything, not out of distrust, but because some winds are best left to flower in quiet, like rosebuds in barren soil. I stood on the porch that evening and watched the sun seep across the horizon. Behind those gates, Diane was probably pacing and plotting her next citation or victim. Still thinking herself above it all. She wasn't. A few days after that, I sat in a small cafe, enveloped by the smell of cinnamon and yellowed pages. In the corner of the room, Diane was in performance mode, ranting to 3 members of the HOA board. Her arms waved wildly, loud voice, ranting about the biased judge who decided against her. She vowed to file complaints and overturn the ruling. She had no idea the same judge she'd cursed sat only 10 feet away, quietly stirring cold tea. My phone vibrated. A text from Sarah, an expired HOA guest pass. Still good. I could use it to roam at will, observe the neighborhood the way they did. No skulking about, just subtle obscenity. The following morning, I walked the sidewalks once more, guest pass in my pocket. I discovered an overgrown fire hydrant alongside a board member's residence. Took a photograph. With every walk, another layer was revealed. A broken fence she termed private, discriminatory leasing rules written into the fine print. Ridiculous fines. Sarah asked why I continued to walk, continued to gather. I'm scared of being helpless, I told her. I don't know how to bring Ethan back, but I can prevent this from occurring. She hugged me for the first time in years. Then a file appeared on my desk. Another appeal by Diane, one marked for reassignment. I couldn't hear it again. She accused me of bias, vendettas. Never once did she apologize. A sentence from her attorney caught my eye. She feels like someone on the court is monitoring her. She was correct, just not the manner in which she imagined. Later that day, while helping Sarah in the attic, we found one of Ethan's old drawings. A sunny house, a boy in a red cap. Grief pulled tight around us, but for once, it didn't break us. Outside, Diane was photographing a neighbor's flower bed, scolding them over unauthorized plant width. 2 kids froze mid-laugh under her glare. I recorded her, quietly, not to shame, just to document. Facts don't need drama, they need daylight. A phone call from a friend in charge followed. An anonymous tip, with dates, pictures, affidavit. It prompted an audit. Diane felt it before it was official. She was a hawk, patrolling, yelling. Her paranoia flaked at her facade. Then she saw me again. "You're back?" she snapped, clipboard at the ready. I smiled. "Just dropping by. No rules violated." She narrowed her eyes, memory flashing. I turned and walked away. Her anxiety was doing the work for me. Residents began whispering, then talking. A man thanked me for the mailbox. A mother wished Diane would get what was coming to her. Diane's memos became desperate, warnings of impersonators. Her tone stiffened, anxious. Sarah asked if Diane would ever see what she did. "No," I said. "Some never do. But justice doesn't require their remorse, just their reckoning." At one of the community legal literacy evenings, I addressed under my middle name. No robes, a plain dress. The library was full of residents. Individuals questioning Diane didn't want them to realize they could. A woman fined for a door color, a man towed for a visitor's vehicle, an elder excluded from viewing board minutes. The tide turned. The local newspaper printed a front-page headline. "Residents demand HOA answers." Diane's reaction? More memos, lawsuit threats, accusations. But it just fueled the fire. The last HOA meeting was a buzz like a hornet's nest. Diane stood firm, but her board cracked under scrutiny. Why did her friends escape fines? Why were others singled out? State investigators emerged, listing infractions, discrimination, misuse of funds, code abuse. The board was being looked at. Her time was up. Diane's eyes fixed on mine. "You," she snarled. "And who might you be?" I stood, showed her my badge. "Judge Eleanor Harper, the one who rejected your appeal." The room gasped collectively. Her stance wavered. I spoke to the crowd. "You have rights. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The vote was cast. Diane was evicted. She cleared out quietly. Her house was sold under another name. Sarah and I painted over her ramp, Ethan's favorite green. Laughter had come back to the streets. Flags hung loose. I placed roses and softly said, "It's safe now," at Ethan's grave. At Sarah's small party, a girl in a red cap blew bubbles away in the wind. Peace. Not closure, but enough. Diane had required an answer from me. She received it, not as her adversary, but as her retribution. And the neighborhood did not flower in anger. It flowered in voices no longer fearful of being heard.